Before I start today's video, I want to thank you guys for the absolutely amazing support on my previous video, the Yozora Secret Ending Square Enix theory that I put together. I definitely didn't expect it to reach such a big audience, and I'm extremely humbled by the fact that you guys would take time out to watch my content. And obviously, if those of you really look through the comments, I indicated that there were things that I left out intentionally when it came to Yozora's character and just some of the other things that I could have gotten into in the previous video, but I wanted to save that for this video. So in this one, we're going to be talking about Yozora, Verum and just a little more on the ending. I really want to focus in on Yozora and Verum specifically here and just talk about what I think when it comes to Yozora's character design and some of the things that I noticed, what we talked about in the comment discussion, just some of what you guys came up with and all the ideas that we generated together, which was a really awesome thing to see transpire. So thank you guys again so much for adding discussion and adding input to my video, and I really hope that you will all turn around and do the same for this one. So where do we begin? Yozora. The mysterious figure sitting on top of the building staring down at Riku in our secret ending, which just so happens to be named after him, and the same person that we saw in the Verum gameplay trailer. Why is this character so important? Given that he's in our secret ending, clearly he has significance and he's going to be in a future game, which is really exciting, and I explained my whole Square Enix theory and how I feel like he ties into that. And I'm going to pinpoint more things that really do make me believe in my heart that Verum will be a world in the upcoming game, one of many Square Enix worlds. I have a little bit of proof in how that ties into why I made that theory in the first video, but first I want to talk about the obvious things before I get into the really exciting things that I just crafted up just watching these two trailers over and over, and just a few design aspects that I picked up on and said, hey, you know, this might tie into something, or it might build up a second theory. So the things that we do know, we know that the letters Y and O, and I'm just going to say it how I normally would, you know, and not try and pronounce it in any sort of Japanese way, because that is not my native language by any means. We know that the letters Y-O, Yo, mean evening, and Sora means sky. When you combine those two things together, that makes evening sky or night sky, which is the word Yozora, which is the same thing as Noctis's name when you translate that out. So clearly these two characters, from not only the design standpoint, but from their actual names, you know, they do tie together. So that is something that I feel like is definitely very obvious, especially if you're somebody who followed Final Fantasy Versus 13, which I feel like that trailer specifically really does pay homage to. And the reason why I say this is because when you look at not only just Yozora, when you look at the girl who's in this trailer, for example, she is a splitting image of Stella. She looks nothing like Lunafreya. I don't get any impression or thought of Lunafreya when I look at her, and looked at her right off the get-go, which when I saw her, I said, oh my gosh, you know, is this supposed to be Nomura paying homage to Versus 13? Before I saw the Yozora Secret Ending, obviously, I thought that was just something he threw in Kingdom Hearts to say, hey, you know, you remember when I did this? She looks just like Stella. And then we look at the other two characters. It looks like he's paired up with a buff version of Ignis and Prompto wearing a hat, looking kind of snazzy. But then we go back to Yozora, which is the main focus of this trailer, and he really does compare to the earliest trailer version of Noctis from Final Fantasy Versus 13, before he got changed. We see that Yozora has the light hair just like that version of Noctis, and not only that, we see the color changing eyes, which I know both versions of Noctis have, but the reason why I emphasize on this was really important when this original trailer came out, because a lot of people were comparing Nomura's earliest design of Noctis to Sasuke. Now, we know that Nomura changed the design because he wasn't satisfied with the concept design, and it was just a concept, or at least he says, but I believe the reason he changed this was because he wanted this to be original. and not something that you would compare to something else, especially something else that's already extremely relevant. You look at Naruto and you look at Sasuke as a character. If I'm designing something that's supposed to be brand new, I don't blame Nomura for wanting to go about a change. So it's really interesting that he would design Yozora to look like the early version of Noctis, but I actually think that's really cool because it makes you really feel the nostalgia when you think about Final Fantasy Versus 13, but I'm going to put that on hold there and I'm going to come back to that because Final Fantasy Versus Noctis is still really important. We're going to fast forward to the version of Noctis that we know. Anyone who has played Final Fantasy 15 is aware of Noctis's most stunning ability, at least in my opinion, the Armiger, and the one drastic change that he goes through when it comes to physical appearance, and that is his eyes going from blue to red. This factors into my first theory as to why Yozora's pupils are one red and one blue, but it doesn't just end there. There's actually more to this, and it's really exciting. When we look at the end of the Verum Rex trailer, and we look at our transition through Yozora's blue pupil, we can see that there's a change going on, and we're seeing before this transition that he's pulling out his crossbow. We see him constantly wielding a sword and a crossbow, and I honestly believe in my first theory that his eyes are linked to ability enhancements. Basically, his pupil will go through a form of change when he's using said weapons. So his blue eye is linked to his crossbow, and then his red eye is linked to his sword. So when he's powering up, it's similar to the Noctis style with the Armiger, in which he's gaining that enhancement to absolutely demolish enemies in really dire situations. Now let's rewind back to the Final Fantasy Versus 13 version of Noctis and why his eyes changed from blue to red, or at least the major theory that was rotating around the Final Fantasy community as to why that was a thing, and how this compares to Yozora and why Yozora has one red eye and one blue eye. So when it comes to the speculation and massive rotating theories as to why Noctis's eyes changed from blue to red back then, it revolved around death. Noctis, when he was around it or he could sense it, his eyes would go through that change. Now what's interesting in the Yozora trailer, there's a lot of speculation that Sora is in the Reaper's game, and this is just something that can get all over the place. So I want to manage this theory the best I can and really focus in on the eyes first and foremost. In my last video, I really focused in on how I believe Sora and Riku are in separate versions of the same world, and I backed this up by really emphasizing in on the first clip and how there's two separate puddles, one featuring a cool color and the other one featuring a warm color. When Sora and Riku wake up, we see those colors following both characters, and the color that you see in their clips are the color that matches their personalities. Now, when you look at Yozora's eyes, one is a cool color, we have the blue, and then we have the warm color in red. Now, how does this link up with death, you might ask? A very popular rotating theory in the comments of my last video was that a lot of people believe Sora is currently having to go through playing the Reaper's game, and Yozora is the Reaper himself. Now, I initially thought when viewing this trailer, Sora got dropped into the world ends with you themed world. Whether or not he's playing the Reaper's game, that remains to be seen. It doesn't necessarily correlate with my second theory, but it does revolve around death and the fact that Noctis could sense it. So is this supposed to tie into Yozora's red eye, as to where the people playing the Reaper's game are in this illusion or this world that Yozora himself could see through that one red eye, and he could see the real version of this world through his blue eye, and that's where Riku currently is? That's something that could be a theory, but if Sora's on the verge of death and he's having to play the game, who is his partner? That isn't something that's apparent. You know, Riku split from Sora, and you could imagine if he was a part of the game, him and Sora would be in the same version of that world. And I know in Dream Drop Distance, people playing the game were separated from their partners, and their partners were in the alternate version of Traverse Town, for example. And not only that, we know for a fact that our Reaper, which I'm not going to spoil who he is if you didn't play that game, was able to bounce between both versions of that said world as well. But that's something I want to discuss a little more down below, because I'm not entirely sure I believe this theory, but it's really fun to think about. So let me know what you guys think down below, and let's get into my second theory. My second theory rotates around the red eye and how I've seen it represented through Japanese culture, media, and art. I'm going to touch on two things, and one of those things we touched on very briefly, so we're going to rewind back once again, and I'm going to bring up Sasuke Uchiha, of all things. Now, one thing about the Uchiha clan, and if you're not familiar with Naruto, Sasuke comes from a clan that is known for possessing a unique eye. And this eye is supposed to be a reflection of the heart. Now, one thing about the Uchiha clan, their eyes can turn red, and this can be a positive and negative thing. For example, when they feel negative emotion that can be caused by stress or loss, they can put their victims under what's called genjutsu, or an illusion. And the person who is a victim of this genjutsu or an illusion, they can feel physical pain, and they can see illusions that are almost an absolute reality. And then we have a second symbolization of the red eye when we look at Katakyo Hitman Reborn. And anyone who has seen this anime, I just want to give you a big shout out. We look at Mokuro Rokudo and how he possesses the one red eye, the 6 paths of reincarnation, in which he's able to rotate the symbol on his red eye to cast different forms of genjutsu or illusions on his victim that do absolutely bizarre things. And again, it makes something that's not real an absolute reality. This completely ties into my first video and how I was talking about how I believe Sora and Riku to be in split versions of the same world. What if Sora is in an illusionary version of Tokyo and Riku is in fact in the real one? This is something that's totally within the realm of possibility, being everything that I got into previously. Now, when it comes to Verum Rex, we know that part of the game takes place in Shibuya. If we look at the beginning of the Verum Rex trailer, we can see this festive street signage that shows that this is the case. And this extends out as far as Shinjuku, where Riku meets Yozora for the first time. Thank you guys so much for pointing that out in the first video. Now, what this is indicating to me is both sides of what's happening here is going to feature the entire city of Tokyo, just not districts. And I do believe that Sora went through a near-death experience, and it was Luxor's wild card that saved his life. And instead of dying, Sora was placed in this alternate universe. Whether it's the Reaper's game, or Sora and Riku having to find each other and then traveling to various Square Enix worlds within the Square Enix universe, only before finding their friends from previous games to get back home. I am super excited for the future of Kingdom Hearts. And even though this video is just speculation, I'm really looking forward to what's on the horizon here. I think that the title and what's coming next is gonna take a darker turn, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind Disney being put on the back burner, especially since it had so much presence in Kingdom Hearts 3. And that's it for this one. I'm going to close it off here. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this at all, especially if you watched it through, because I know I really dragged this one out, but I had a lot that I wanted to get off my chest and throw in here for you all to enjoy. So thank you guys again, and thank you for supporting that previous video. And if you guys are looking to keep up to date with me, definitely feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Same thing as YouTube, you're just going to search Vhosythe and you'll be able to follow me on there. Keep up with my content. I'm going to Japan in a month and a half, so you'll be able to live out a little bit of that through my eyes, and I think that's really cool and unique to be able to use social media to express just some of my real life and share that with you guys as well. And other than that, if you enjoyed this one, definitely feel free to share it with your friends, and if you really enjoyed it, definitely feel free to leave a like and sub to the YouTube channel to keep up with everything I have going on here. This has been Vhosythe. Have a good night, guys. Later.